Hey, Bob, I think we're ready.
Okay. Good evening. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Wilmette Village Board of Appeals. Ms. Roberts, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Falkoff,
Here.
Mr. Colang,
Here.
Ms. Norick,
Here.
Mr. Pelleton,
Here.
Mr. Sermon,
Here.
Ms. Choka Urban,
Here.
and Chairman Schneider.
By audio
This
only.
is a meeting being conducted remotely via Microsoft Teams. For those watching this video in the future, the state of Illinois is currently under a stay-at-home order issued by Governor J.B. Pritzker due to the coronavirus global pandemic. As a result, all in-person governmental meetings have been canceled. However, the Open Meetings Act now permits electronic meetings of governmental bodies like the Zoning Board of Appeals. And this evening, we will be conducting our business in compliance with state law. As usual, this meeting is being broadcast live on our local cable channel 6. It is also being broadcast on the internet on YouTube Live, and the URL for that is www.com/user/Village of Wilmette /live. To participate in the meeting, you must join through Microsoft Teams. Visit the village's website at www.wilmette.com and find the calendar event for the zoning board meeting. There is a link for you to join the meeting. If you will also find the meeting agenda and case reports under the calendar. Alternatively, you can view the meeting on channel 6 or on the YouTube channel. Call in the meeting, allowing you to listen and speak using your telephone. The phone number is 872-239-8225. Tonight's meeting code is 241-735-945, and then you must press the pound. You may also submit comments to YouTube Live and emails to Community Development, comdev@wilmette.com. A member of the village staff will read your comment to the village board. All comments of the Zoning Board of Appeals will be recorded in the meeting minutes as we typically do. For our meeting, guests joining by Teams, when you are not speaking, please keep your device muted to minimize disruption of the proceedings and your video turned off so that the board members can be seen. For those of you new to the proceedings, the purpose of this board is to hear the evidence on the applications for the variances in the zoning ordinance and on applications for special use. Based upon the evidence we will hear this evening, we will make recommendations to the village board of trustees to whether the applications that come before us this evening should be granted or denied. We will vote to recommend granting or denying each application for variation based on whether the application meets the standards of review set forth in section 5.4.5 of our village ordinance. Applications for special use will be considered based upon whether the standards of review set forth in section 5.3.e of the village ordinance are met. The village board of trustees will consider the recommendations that we are making this evening at the regularly scheduled meeting on September 22nd. Our recommendations to the board are advisory only. The village board has the right, has the final say on all applications and will make its own determination on whether to grant or deny them. The village board is not legally bound by our recommendation. There is one small exception to the rule. If the board receives a negative recommendation with respect to the application, in order for the village board of trustees to approve that application, a supermajority of 5 village board members must vote to approve it rather than a simple majority. There's one other small peculiarity to the proceedings to which you should be aware. The board does not operate by majority vote. We operate instead by tyranny of four. In other words, no matter how many board members are present on a given evening, in order for a positive recommendation for the board, the application must receive 4 affirmative votes. Ordinarily, the board consists of all 7 members. I believe all 7 members are present tonight.
But if Reinhard can't go, we can't include him.
Okay, so the ordinarily the board consists of 7 members. Tonight, however, due to one absence, only 6 members are present. Ms. Roberts will act as the administrative director and sits with us tonight in an advisory capacity only and is not a voting member of the board. Please be aware, therefore, that the vote of 3-3 or in favor of the application will technically go into the record as a negative recommendation with the legal effect that I had previously described. In recognition of this unusual feature of our procedure, when we do not have all the members of the board present on a given evening, we give the applicant who is scheduled to come before us that night the option of requesting a continuance to the next available date on the schedule. The next available date for any applicant that would like to request a continuance is September 16th. There's no penalty for asking for continuance. No such request will be held against you when the case is eventually heard. If you do wish to ask for a continuance, however, you must do so at the beginning of your presentation before making any substantive arguments on the merits of your case. Please also be aware that if you request continuance, there's no guarantee of how many board members will be present on the evening to which the case is continued. The cases we shall hear this evening will be heard in the order set forth on the published agenda. When your case is called, please state your name, address, and tell us exactly why your application meets the standards of review that are applicable to it. Each member of the board is a longtime resident of the village and has visited your property here in the past week. In addition, we have received from the village staff's report containing all written information submitted to support your application as well as other correspondence the village has received. Accordingly, it is not necessarily to repeat what you've already stated in writing. Please just hit the high points with particular attention to why you believe your application meets the standards of review. After the applicant has had a chance to speak, we'll open the floor to others who wish to speak on the application. I will recognize each attendee and ask if they have a comment, so please wait until you are called. Everyone will be permitted to have their say, though we would ask that your comments to keep them as short as possible, to the point. All comments received through the YouTube chat, Teams chat, email will be read into the record at that time. After we've heard all the presentations, I will close the evidence and the members of the board will discuss what they've heard and take a vote. Once the evidence is closed, no further testimony on the application may be offered. The only people entitled to speak during that portion of the proceeding will be the members of the board. This meeting is a legal proceeding and all testimony tonight must be given under oath. If you are here and planning to testify tonight, I would ask that you raise your right hand at this time to be sworn.
Hey.
Do you swear and affirm that you will tell the truth and testimony that you are about to give? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Okay. Ms. Roberts, will you please call the first case of the evening?
Sure. Our first case was 1305 Sheridan Road. That was continued from our last meeting to tonight. For anyone who's following along, the applicants have withdrawn that request. I don't know that they'll be back, but they are officially off the agenda for the time being. There's no action needed by the board. It's just an informational item.
Okay. Would you like to call the next case of the evening?
I sure would. Our next case is 2020 Z24, 1706 Elmwood Avenue. This is a request for a 4.98-foot front yard porch setback variation, a 7.81-foot front porch stair setback variation, and a 252.03 square foot front yard impervious surface coverage variation to permit the construction of a new front porch on the legal non-conforming structure. And both of our applicants are here.
Okay, welcome. I'm not sure if who's going to speak first, the architect or the owner.
Hi, the owner will speak first.
Okay, what is your name and address?
I'm Nancy Kulik, and this is my husband, Andy Kulik, and we live at 1706 Elmwood Avenue in Wilmette.
Okay. Would you like to give us a brief overview of your project and your request, please?
I sure would. We've lived in Wilmette for 16 years, and we've been in this house for 13 years. My husband works from home full time. I work from home when I'm not traveling or when I'm not in the city. And of late, especially very recently, we've been spending a lot of our time outdoors. And what we're looking for is a front porch addition to the front of our house. Our neighborhood is very close knit. Both of our neighbors have lived here longer than we have on either side of us. And for us, we spend a lot of time in the front yard, talking to our neighbors or working on our computers or just relaxing. The addition of a front porch just gives us some living space that is really usable. The house itself is 125 years old, and the front porch that we're asking for, we believe, fits very closely into the architectural design of the home itself and will add great curb appeal. And Chad, our architect, will talk more about the details. The only other thing I think that's really important to us right now is we've moved my parents. My father has dementia, and we've moved them from Virginia up to the North Shore. They're living in an assisted living facility, but we do spend a lot of time with them at our home. And we like to take them outside, and my dad loves to see the garden and see the kids and dogs walk by. And so a front porch also just gives us that additional space to spend some time with them. Chad, do you want to talk about the details?
All right. Hello. So my name is Chad Boomgarden, principal of Boomgarden Architects. Some of you I know well, and some of you I don't. My address is 1315 Central Avenue, Wilmette. For a little bit of introduction as to why we've come here tonight, I'll tell you a little bit about the firm. I know you've read my lengthy packet as to why architecturally I believe we meet the different hardships, but my firm specializes in local renovations of existing what we call contextual architecture, which we find is an amenity to the village's image, and they're more fun to design than new houses, actually. Our first Wilmette project was back in June of 1998, and over the past 22 years, we've completed over 200 projects. We have 15 architectural awards, including 8 from the Village of Wilmette's Historic Preservation Commission. I've only been before this board for variances about 10 times, as we try to limit our requests to our clients. Myself, I don't take them lightly. I only suggest it to the client when I feel like there's no other option available, which brings us to this case. Like Nancy and Andy said, the house is from 1894. It sits within the front yard setback by about 5 feet. So for comparison's sake, to kind of put our request into an image tonight, I'll just describe briefly the three things that we're requesting as if the house were at the front yard setback. So you get a better feel for what are we really asking for in reality if the house was conforming. So I'll start with the first, which is the 4.89 front yard setback. If the house were at the front yard setback, that would be a non-request. We wouldn't be here asking for the front yard setback. Second is the stair setback. If the house were at the setback line, we'd be asking for 30 inches of an extension on the staircase. And that's for the one reason of to make the stairs code compliant from a riser height of 7¼ inches and a tread length of 10 inches, basically a 1x10 tread, because it's a very steep and very narrow staircase right now. The third request is for the 252 front yard impervious. So this one's a little trickier, but The additional square footage we're asking for the porch is only 83 square feet because they already have a stoop. So if we just say that that's an existing thing that counts, I'm just looking at the portion that we're adding. So it's 83 square feet. Now the house is under on FAR by 300 square feet. It's under on coverage by 500 square feet. So the house is not overbuilt either in volume or coverage, which means we could add that 83 square feet anywhere around the house that we wanted to. It's just that in this particular location, it crosses the front yard setback. So the impervious calculation seems larger than it is because we're having to reaccount for the whole new porch and staircase, part of which already exists. So hopefully that gives you a better sense of kind of how I would typically look at a project that's asking for variances around the village. Now I've done enough of these to know not to reread my hardship letter, so I won't. And I know personalities don't come into play, but I've known the Kulik family for over a decade. And as I and their neighbors will tell you, we're not opposed to having them outside more in the front. They're a great family and been a big amenity to the school and the community. In addition to that, they're making an attempt to bring back the home to its original appearance by redesigning the whole exterior, siding, trim package, roof lines, windows. The porch request just helps complete that and what would be a new architectural amenity for the village and for the neighborhood. So whether we pass tonight or not, this really brings this house back into itself, which as an architect, it's what we do and why we do what we do. It's one of those gems that we would have for the community if this were allowed to go through. So that's my presentation in a nutshell. I'm happy for the questions you may have had during the packet.
Hi, Chad. Good to see you. This is Bob Sermon. I did have a couple of questions. If you just want to touch on your hardships, so the public knows, because the request is lot coverage, but to me, the main hardship is probably the positioning of the house because it was built over 100 years ago. But if you could summarize those just real quick for the public and for the other members, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. So back in the day, these streets that were west of Green Bay Road were dirt. They weren't paved like they are now. That came by sometime later. A lot of the houses that we've done in the 1880s, 1890s around here that we've renovated in the last 22 years all seem to have this issue where they were set very close to a lot line, where there was the front lot line, a side lot line. And this house is no different. This house has a lot of other abnormalities or anomalies, we'll call it, where the first floor height is very high. It's set at 5 feet. That's not something you see other than the 1980s, or excuse me, 1880s, 1890s homes. As is with this particular house, like you mentioned, Bob, is it's positioned to the front street. It crosses the front yard setback, which is determined by the village as an average of the general houses on the block. So because this house predates them, it's helped setting that average closer to the street, but all the other houses built from the 1920s, post-World War II, are set well back because of the zoning codes at that time, which further penalizes this house. So that's another part of the hardship that exists for this specifically.
John Palank. In driving by and taking a look at it, and you obviously have mentioned that one of the hardships is that this house was set farther forward. But by adding the front porch and then the stairs, it really seems totally out of alignment with the rest of the street. And while a front porch might be nice to have, I think it really doesn't fit in, at least from what I observed, with the rest of the homes that are close to it. So.
Yeah, that's a good thing to bring up, actually, is the proportion of porches to the front of a house. So this is a Queen Anne Victorian. So a Queen Anne Victorian is marked by like several different styles that I kind of touched on a little bit in the packet, where there was Gothic Revival, there's Italianate, stick Eastlake, Second Empire, shingle style. There's a lot of different types, but this particular type of Victorian would typically have had a wraparound or a larger porch. So contextually, if there would have been more of this type of house along the block or even around in Wilmette, they would have had the larger porch. The architectural style that's been put on it now is much more contemporary, which is, you can also see from the dry-vit stucco that's been applied to it, the simplified half arch that's above the canopy at this front stoop, the type of columns and the diamond patterns that are in the pillars of the columns. You can tell that the porch was either in disarray and it was covered up, or it was torn down and this was put up at a low cost. Trying to say this, it looks not cheap, but inexpensively built. And it has absolutely no relation to the architectural style of the house, what's there currently. So what we're doing is we go back to the stick style pattern books that were published in the 1920s when we come across houses like this. And what we do is we take example photos from what would have been built. And that's what you see in our architectural drawings, is like readaptations of the stick style, the patternings, the slope shakes at the second floor, the corbels that would be put in place, the extended frieze board, and then also the proportion of a front porch or even a wraparound. In this case, we don't need nor are requesting, but that's why we feel like this is actually more proportional and would benefit the house and the neighborhood rather than the current stoop.
Hey.
Can I interrupt and just ask, Rory, can you mute?
Oh, are you hearing me?
Yeah, well,
You can hear Brian
hear
behind
everyone in the background.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Bob, I'm afraid we couldn't hear you.
Oh, okay, is this better, Lisa?
I can hear
Yeah,
you.
it's not hearing you, Bob.
Yeah.
I can
What
hear
if I
you.
talk really loud like this? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, I'll just have to talk really loud because I don't know what, there isn't any setting I can adjust. Okay, are there any other board members that have any questions?
Yeah, this is Brad Falcoff. I do have one comment and then one question. Chad, the design really, I think, is exceptional. I think it's what you've done to this house has greatly improved it. And so I have one question for you and then one question for the applicant. And the question for you is, a couple of houses down, and it's to the west, there's another house that sort of stands proud towards the street. Is that house is this house going to end up, the applicant's house going to end up about where that one is, or is it going to be even further or closer to the street?
So I swore to tell the whole truth. I don't know the answer to your question because I really would have to know the depth. If you give me a moment, I can look up a document that Lisa provided from the village where they took average setbacks from the property lines, and she may actually be able to provide that as well. I think there was a summation, Lisa, that you provided.
Yep.
So let's assume 3, 4, 5 houses down. If you could give us those 3, that might help him with that setback.
Yeah, it looked like it was a dark brown house. It might have even been brick. The applicants may know which one I'm talking about. It does have a front porch.
Let's go as close to Ridge.
It was closer to Ridge.
It was actually only it's 2 homes maybe away from you. So,
There's a white house that's a little colonial that's 2 houses down. Another 2 to 3 houses past that is a brick house that's closer.
okay.
The one next to us is older, like our home, but the rest of them, other than that little white house and the brick one, have been built relatively recently.
All right, and those are all set back at we think, okay. So here's, I guess, the question for the applicants, and that is, the people, to me, who would be most affected are going to be your neighbors. Have the neighbors said anything one way or the other? Have they seen the plans?
They have seen the plans, and they volunteered to join us in support of this, the change to the house. I think what they're most excited about is, what Chad's talking about, like architecturally, how we're trying to bring it back to the vision of the house as it was. We also spend a lot of time with our neighbors, and so this is an additional gathering space for them. But we're, if needed, we're glad to bring all of our neighbors who are immediately impacted here.
Yeah, they all offered, but
Yeah.
we just figured. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, this is,
Okay,
Chairman, and I just had a question regarding the neighbors. What about the neighbors that are directly to the east? Have you spoken with them? 'Cause they would be the ones impacted.
Nancy and Larry Dickman live at 1700 Elmwood, and that's the home that's directly to the east. And we have spoken to them about this, and they did also offer to come and share their support.
I just wanted to say that while I understand John Colling's concern about how far forward this would be, the net result, the net difference rather between the existing porch or stoop and steps and the new porch and steps is half a foot. You know, where it's actually slightly less than half a foot. So we're talking less than 6 inches closer to the property line. For me, that it doesn't really that doesn't really hold a whole lot of water. I agree with Brad that I think the design is good, and I think it's appropriate for the house. And while it would be nice if the house was set further back, there's really, no way to do that. So I'm generally in support of this application, in addition to the fact that I'm concerned that the architect won't be able to sleep if we don't grant it.
Well, just the comment on that, while the length is minimal at the end of the last stair, there's a lot more bulk attached to the house, which will be closer than the porch, the short porch that is there today. So I think it does hold water, but at any rate.
But I guess just a general comment from myself is that we've experienced these porch projects before. We had one recently on Highcrest where we felt that it impacted more. So I know each case is individual, and there's no two properties alike. There is something said from my perspective, about adding the bulk of the additional porch. I understand the other portion, the entry needs to be redone and maybe the stairs widened, but I'm still on the fence with that. Are there any other board members that have any questions before we ask the public?
Bob, I would just like to say that I'm not sure that I'm persuaded that there's a hardship here, but I do believe that the request is de minimis compared to what's existing. And I'm very impressed by the quality of the improvements that are being made to the house, and the fact that they're hewing to the architectural character of the home. And I can see myself supporting this.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? If not, we'll go to Lisa. Can you check YouTube and the other sources that we have? Are there any comments?
There's nobody else on Teams, and we have not received any email. Lucas, do you see anything?
I do not see anything.
I guess that's it then. Thank you.
Sorry, I haven't run a meeting in a while. Seeing that there's no one else for the last word, would the applicant like to add any comments before we close this case for discussion? Chad or Nancy?
I think you asked if we had any additional comments. We just appreciate your time, and it definitely seems like everyone is taking this seriously, and you've come by to see the house and you're understanding the impact on the neighborhood. I think that we've got the support of our neighbors and are excited for this change and the way that it'll integrate with everything else we're doing. But above all, we just appreciate the ability to come in and make this request.
Chad, any last
Nope, I think I explained it all in the packet and then tonight. Thank you all. Yeah, good questions and thanks for stopping by. I know we saw some of you today, so thank you.
Okay. I understand people are still having problems hearing me, so I'll speak even louder in these meetings. At this time, I'd like to close the case and ask if any of the board members would like to make a motion.
I move to recommend granting a request for a 4.98-foot front yard porch setback variation, a 7.81-foot front porch stair setback variation, and a 252.03 square foot, 13.44% front yard impervious surface coverage variation to permit the construction of a new front porch on the legal non-conforming structure at 1706 Elmwood Avenue in accordance with the plans submitted.
Okay. Thank you very much, Maria Choka Urban. Do I have a second?
Sure, I'll second that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Peloton. Maria, would you like to go ahead?
I think I've spoken my piece. I think that this is going to be an asset, not just to the applicant, but to the community at large. And I think the request is small enough in comparison to what currently exists that I can support this.
Okay, thank you. Riri?
And I would say that, Maria had said earlier that she wasn't sure what the hardship was. And for me, the hardship is the fact that the house is already non-conforming. And as a result, whatever they did in the front of the house would be an issue, even if they were just replacing what was already there. I understand what John and Robert have said about the massing, but I still think that because it's contextually appropriate, it's not going to overwhelm neighboring structures or sort of loom over the road and the sidewalk area. And I think that, as Maria said, it will be an asset to the neighborhood and to the village. And so because it's not projecting considerably further towards the right-of-way, I can support this.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment by any board members?
Yeah, this is John. So, one of the things I know we've tried to do over the years that I've been on the board with old homes like this is grant some leeway to kind of make sure, the homes stay, that, there's not a reason to tear it down. That's not being discussed here. But, Chad obviously has a great track record in front of this board and in the village in creating designs and architectural drawings that, bring these houses back to their original state and kind of, let Wilmette continue to have some of these older homes. And I think that's a big plus here. I do think that I have a hard time with the hardship here. We've had other cases where somebody wanted to turn a walk into a porch, kind of ground level and what have you, and we denied that. I think there's more of a hardship there than there is here. But I think on balance, preserving this type of a home and bringing it back to some of its original, kind of glory in the Queen Anne style that Brad was talking about.
So what are your final thoughts on it, John? You're still on the fence, or?
No, I can support it.
You can, okay. Christine, do you have any comment?
No, I too can support the project. I do think it's a nominal request, and You know, it's a nice design and should be good.
Okay. All right. Well, Ms. Roberts, will you please call the vote?
Sure. Ms. Joker Urban,
Yes.
Mr. Pelletin,
Yes.
Mr. Felkoff,
Yes.
Mr. Colang,
Yes.
Ms. Norick,
Yes.
Acting Chairman Sermon.
Actually, I forgot to give my comment right before. It is going to be a yes, but I did want to say that I think because the applicant is doing a whole house renovation of the exterior, that's very important. If the applicant had just come and said we want to add a porch to an existing home, that would have been a different situation. So I think by really trying to bring it back to its original character, my vote is yes. Sorry, Lisa.
I'm sorry, that was a vote in favor?
Yes, vote in favor. Yes.
So that's a vote of 6-0.
Okay. So this will go as a positive recommendation to the village board, which meets on September 22nd, 2020. And you will receive a notice from Ms. Roberts confirming the village board date. Would a board member please make a motion regarding,
Move to authorize the chairman to prepare the report and recommendation for the zoning board of appeals for case number 2020 Z24.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Lisa, we need to take a roll call vote.
We do.
Okay.
Ms. Joker Urban,
Yes.
Mr. Felkoff,
Yes.
Mr. Colang,
Yes.
Ms. Norick,
Yes.
Mr. Pelletin,
Yes.
Acting Chairman Sermon.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Good luck with the project.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Have a great night, guys.
Okay. Hello, Lisa, could you please call the next case of the evening?
Our next case is 2020 Z23, 901 Ridge Road. This is a request for a two-space parking variation to permit the operation of a small medical clinic, and our applicants are here.
Hi, my name is Bo Yang, and the address is 901 Ridge Road in Wilmette. And this is Zhao Liu, or you can call her Lisa too. Also 901, I'll be the person to make the presentation.
Okay. Do you excuse me?
Hey, Reinhardt, you're here.
Sorry, it's a little hard to hear.
Yeah, it's very hard to hear you.
We can see Reinhardt now.
I can see, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hear you so.
All right. Please go ahead, Mr. Temporary Chairman.
Lisa? Lisa, can Reinhardt take over since it's difficult to hear me?
That's probably a good idea. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you guys can see me and hear me, yes?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, let's, Lisa, would you introduce the next case?
We've got 901 Ridge Road queued up, case 2020 Z23. This is a request for a two-space parking variation to permit the operation of a small medical clinic. And Bo is here representing the applicant, Lisa.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Bo Yang, yes. And
Go
for
ahead.
the address 901 Ridge Road, yes. And Lisa Liu, she's my mother, right here next to me. But you know, because of the English situation, I'll be the person who will make the presentation and all. And as for the small medical clinic, it's actually more like in the writing we have, it's traditional Chinese like a holistic healthcare practice. So that those include like acupuncture or herbal medicine and acupressure, stuff like that. And we actually bought the property in 2000, my mom, Lisa, she bought the property in 2013, and during that time it was an antique shop. And before that, from what we have made a research before buying the property, it was like it had been like a pharmacy place, and also it had been a fitness center too. And from what we heard, there was no issue with the parking space or parking lot. And so what we want to do is to open the medical clinic is we can limit for 3 parking spaces to use, and limiting 20 patients per day. And 1 to 2 practitioners. So it depends. It will be, and if the patient exceeds 20, we can do referral to other trusted other practitioners, or we can do like a home visit to do the treatments. And what we offering is like a really calming, peaceful treatment by using the space. And yeah, and also because from what I see in the documents, it says it was about 2,000 square feet, but from what we calculation, I did from a floor plan we did, the total space for the space we're using is only about like 1,600 square feet. And that being done through we want to have a floor plan to be drawn. So yes, this is what I have stated, and everything else I have is in my letter. That's the application that's sent to the CVS.
So this is Ronald Schneider. The plans you've shown us, so that you've shared with us, which the page is not numbered, but it's 2.0 or something. It's existing floor plan. Is that what you're going to use? You're not proposing to change the existing floor plan?
No. This is the space, the floor plan that I've sent to the city is the total space that we will be using, yes.
But this was
anything else, yeah.
This was an antique store, and I don't recall it being divided like this. Have you done some work since?
Yes.
Okay.
Like just inside, because before the antique shops, actually from what we heard, because when we bought the location it was in 2013, and I think the antique shop was open before we bought it. And what they did, they actually took out the doors and break through the walls. Before that, the walls was I talked to the antique shop owner before. He said that they actually break through the wall to have more open spaces. So we just seal back the walls. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, not walls. I think it was windows. I think. I'm not exactly sure what they did. It's,
it is a fitness center. Fitness center is they made 3 rooms.
Sorry, I'm not completely sure about the location. I have to talk to.
I assume.
没错，他就是把那个窗户给它补上了。
Oh, it was windows. It wasn't walls. I'm sorry. They had a small windows, they took.
Anti-soft,
when the antique shop.
Whoever's the owner made the Professor owner made this first floor for fitness center. There are 3 small rooms.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
But they make the wall small.
Okay.
Window. Now we made the window cover.
Okay.
For the room can see each other. Before they make they can see.
Thank you. So this is this floor plan that we see is the plan that you're using, and that is the construction or the layout that is in place right now. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Did you need a building permit, Lisa? Did they get one?
I'm not exactly clear on what work has already been done. It was my understanding that that was a proposed plan.
When this 2018 December, this anti-SALP this closed business they repair. I want to say to ask. I want to I want to paint the wall and this for the block. They don't need the I didn't. I didn't do contract.
Okay, so what my mother Lisa is trying to say, after the antique shop was closed down in 2018 October or December, we not exactly sure, it's been a while. She went to ask the city because we want to do some repairments like to the walls, floors, and everything, and to change because it was carpet before, and we want to to make it look clean and paint walls. So she did want to ask the city if, when she's doing those works, that she need a permit to do that. And whoever replied her said we don't need the permit to do this changing the floors.
Okay, thank you, that's good.
Yes. Because this before this previous owner made this fitness center. The fitness center is the rent a room for massage. So this construction are very 就是合适，非常合适。
What she's trying to say, like way before the antique shop, it was a fitness center, and the layout they did back then was the layout they did back then is really suited for what we want to use for the clinic. Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions for the company?
I have a question. In your letter, Bo, you make the point that there will be 8.7 visitors a day. But I note that there's 7 offices in the space, and it's possible that you might have 7 visitors at once. And I would assume that that would be controlled by how many practitioners work at this address. And so my first question is, how many practitioners will be practicing at your center?
And I just want to say that there's not 7 rooms, because one of the room is you can say is where you can put for staffs. So total 6 room can be used for business, and we won't be using all the rooms because some room we can put for to store equipment, or some room can be for different type of treatment, and what we'll have on site is 1 to 2 practitioners per day, and depends. Someone can work during the morning hours, and someone do the evening hours or afternoon hours. And usually for 1 practitioner, they shouldn't see more than 3 patients per day, like per of the 1.5 hours per like per time, because they won't have enough time to see as many patients. Because what we say, usually for one visitor or one patient, it will take about 1.5 hours to including the waiting time for like one practitioner. Yeah.
And I have a follow-on question. You're thinking now there will be 1 to 2 practitioners at any given time. What is your projection for growth? And do you envision having more than one practitioner adding additional practitioners?
No, we're not thinking of doing that. We want to control the patient number for 20 per day. We don't want to exceed that. It's because it will like cause the traffic or parking issue, and also the practitioner won't have the time to do so.
Okay. I have no other questions.
This is Brad. I've got a couple of questions. I'm first of all just trying to understand how many spaces there are. In your presentation, you note that in the written materials that there's 8 parking spaces, but Lisa, it says in the information we received that there are 7 legal parking spaces. So I'm first of all just trying to find out, are there 7 spaces from the village's standpoint, or are there 8 spaces there?
I'm going to answer my part for that question. When my parents was buying the property, they did because she wanted to check if there's any violations or anything, and then she did ask the
this agent and previous owner give the information is 8 parking lot.
Yeah, the previous owner and the agent, when we were buying the property, says that there was 8 parking spaces.
When they park 8， 他一直在使用是8的。
Yeah, like what the agent and then the previous owner have been telling us is 8 parking spaces. Yeah.
Lisa, could you maybe explain why there's only 7 spaces legal, and maybe that word legal has some import?
No, I don't.
Sorry, there's 2 Lisas. She got.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I also have the question. I don't answer.
Lisa Roberts.
Yes.
I think Brad is asking you to explain.
Yes.
This is Lisa. Do you want me to chime in?
If you don't mind, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. This is Lucas Sieverton with Community Development as well. The last approved site plan, which was approved in the 90s, showed 7 parking spaces. Between that time and now, the parking lot has been restriped, and the current configuration has a parking stall which is parallel to the the current configuration has a parking space where Lisa's cursor is. That parking space is not considered a legal parking space. It's is not conforming for setbacks. It's not conforming for aisle width. So for those reasons, it's considered a legal parking space.
So Lucas, as I understand it then, that the village only considers there to be 7 spaces there currently?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. And then going back, Bo, you had said that, and I wanted to get this correct, that there could be 20 patients a day?
Maximum.
And this parking is shared by the barber shop, right? This is where the people going to the barber shop also use that parking space, those parking spaces?
Yes.
All right. And then you indicate in your letter that some employees could, let's see, if needed, the employees will park their cars in private locations. I'm trying to figure out what that means.
Because we, as personal, I'm studying to be a practitioner too, and also I have the people I know will help me to be working here. Like I will hire like people I know, and then we actually are for that private locations. That means we don't live that far. They can park and we can drive the car to the location together or something like that. Like I said,
when are those decisions being made? I mean, in the dead of winter, when it's 10 below zero, are you going to be asking your employees to park off-site somewhere?
no, I'm saying to park at our other properties, because our home, and we can drive the car together to there. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
If it need,
How many employee parking spaces do you need?
depend 的，就是如果需要，我可以不，如果要是客人买多，我可以不需要，我可以把车停在朋友家，朋友我有朋友那。可以啊。
他问的是你需要多少个工作人要停的地方？
我这就根据病人的多少，我就需要3个。即使你跟他说我需要3个，如果3个病人买了，我可以把车停在附近的朋友家的里头，我们走过去。
他问的是工作人员。
那边可以就停在我的朋友家里头，可以啊。
Sorry, this is a discussion.
Well, I wouldn't expect this to have been that question.
If this, you know, if this, I just need 3 parking. Before the anti-self also can use 3 parking out. If this patient, no, if there's, we can make appointment. So control,
yeah, what we're thinking to control the patient numbers by making out the appointment, which I think we did stated this in the application letter, and also for if the parking space having exceed the and then we.
I use this, you know, just 3. I just need 3. If there are same time, there are 3 patients. This the employee can parking. I have friends living nearby. They have a, you know, they can parking this car to my friend's house. They have a, you know, this have a parking place. This I'm sure I'm not bad neighborhood, you know. For this business, for the parking can control by scheduler. This I'm sure this.
Bo, I don't mean to cut you off, but my question was a real simple one. How many spaces do you need for employees?
Depends.
On what?
Depend, like what we're saying.
Let's try the question this way, Bo. What's the maximum number of spaces that you would need for employees?
We just need total for employee and patient.
No, just employees. How many do you need for just employees?
Okay, employee 我就说
All I'm asking for is a number.
如果两个我们就可以就是说把车停在就是 employee
不管你那个，我需要几个？
我需要，如果我 employee 如果病人多，我不需要。
你不管你需不需要病人多不多，他只问要几个。
If this patient 3 patient， 你跟他说。
Okay. Like I said, we were planning to have total 3 spaces for the business. So if the employee is there, we can just like a 1 space for the employee. And also, we weren't thinking to have both of the practitioner, all of them at the same time, because we have to cut down the shift, like a morning and the afternoon shift. So what I'm saying, 1 to 2 practitioner or employees is like 1 for the morning or 1 for the afternoon. So that means total 2.
But you know,
Because for working, you shouldn't pass like certain number per day. That I know. So someone will work. One person will work in the morning and one person will work in the afternoon. So we can say we just need one parking for the employee. Yeah.
So do you don't have a receptionist or anyone who greets people when they come in?
Usually, as for this, what we do is make an appointment through either online or make the appointment by the phone. And the practitioner can be the person to greet the person, because as this is a small business, it's not like a big clinical setting, like a medical setting. It's only a small business. And what we want to is just to have a calm and peaceful space for our patients. So we don't need as many people as to work there. And then most things we can, like I said, most things we can deal through the phone and the website. Yes.
Anything else, Mr. Falco?
No, thank you.
Anybody else, of the members of the board, wish to ask a question of the applicant?
Well, at the risk of opening a can of worms, I would go back to Ms. Urban's comment. You have a significant number of offices, which far exceeds the number of patients that you have stated you're going to be seeing at any one time. If you have one practitioner and you have, say, 3 patients, what are the rest of the rooms for? It would seem that you're setting up for additional practitioners and additional patients.
No, that's not what we're doing, because there's if you can see in the floor plan, there's like 2 small rooms and 4 big rooms. And some of the rooms we might use it to store equipment. Like
I understand. So to get it back to sort of Mr. Falco's line of questioning, how many rooms of equipment do you anticipate needing?
But what I'm saying, we won't be using as for, if you read in the beginning, we have like acupuncture, like herbal remedies, like
Yes.
herbal treatments and tuina.
Yes.
So each room can be set for different treatment. So if the patient comes and then when we do the diagnosis, and then we say this person needs this, then we send this person to that room. It's not exactly we're going to use for each room for all the same things. And we're
So
not.
you're only going to have one set of acupuncture needles and one set of cups and so forth, and each room will be dedicated to one particular remedy?
Not exactly, but what we're saying, like for example, the moxibustion will be limited to the 2 small rooms, which is one of the small rooms do have a window and is next to the wall, so we need some good air circulation and everything. And then for the 4 big rooms, also we need we won't have the patient to use the room if it's not clean. So then we have another room for the patient to be able to, like a clean room for the patient to be able to use when the next patient comes. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that, you own the building, right?
Yes.
The space has been empty, so you haven't been getting it rent for that space, correct?
Yeah, we've been waiting for this. Yes.
Right, so then now you're moving this business in there so you can generate some income out of this space.
Yes.
You're not going to have people in all the rooms. You're going to have rooms set up for different things. But this way, at least you're generating income from space that's not generating income today. Right? You're going to be generating income from this space, but there is no income coming right now because you don't have a tenant, right?
Yes. Yes.
Any other?
Good. This is Bob Sermon. I was out of commission for a while, so I may have missed some of the questions. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
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 Okay. It's a combination of my phone and the screen. I used to live a few blocks from there. That building's been vacant for a long time. You know, something needs to go in there. To me, it doesn't sound like it's a heavy use. For many years, it was an antique store. And, you know, many, just from being on the board for many years, you see a lot of these types of projects, and they typically are in the village center or other areas where there's not even any parking available. You know, there's no off-site parking whatsoever. It's all reliant on street parking. So, and it's always been very difficult to apply the requirements, to meet the requirements that the city has or the village has for these locations. It just wasn't ever planned for. And I don't know if, John, that's your memory. You've been on longer, and Reinhardt.
Go ahead, John.
I mean, I agree with Bob. You know, so, I mean, a lot of our retail use has gone to service. This is a, you know, I mean, this is a difficult area. There's not a lot of parking in front. There's not a lot of parking behind. I don't know if that the old Treasure Island lot is something that people can use right now or not, or if they're, you know, to the extent you can. Obviously, there's a lot of parking there, and it's half a block away. So, you know, I mean, it worked before. You know, it's a service use. The owner trying to figure out a way to generate income out of a property. So from that perspective, I think.
Do we have any other questions for the applicant, though? And then we can discuss amongst us. Seeing.
I do have one. Sorry, Reinhardt. I have one other question to applicant. Is there street parking currently available?
No.
Across the street. Well, no, across the street to the in front of the cemetery. In front of the cemetery. I thought there was open parking there that's never utilized. But, do you know where I'm talking about on Ridge Avenue?
It's not. There's no street parking, but I know there's the parking lot for the church and the cemetery. But I don't think that's for public use. So yeah.
Well, I thought there was some public in front of the cemetery, but maybe not.
No.
No. Okay. That's all I had.
Okay. There are no other questions for the applicant. We'll close the testimony and thank you very much, Bo and your mother. We will now proceed to make a motion and then discuss it. So can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. Move to recommend granting a request for a 2-space parking variation to permit the operation of a small medical clinic at 901 Ridge Road in accordance with the plans.
Is there a second?
Second, this is Bob Sermon.
Okay.
Yeah, so, you know, this, I mean, you know, the building has been there for a long time, obviously. There was an antique store, which generated some traffic. You know, there's barber shop and there's another little store there. You know, there's some parking on Ridge, and you got the eight spaces up, which are the only one that's not conforming. Yeah, they seem to make it work. You know, they're averaging 8.7 customers a day over the course of a day. That's probably around 1 an hour. You know, here you have an owner who's trying to figure out a way to utilize space that's been unrented for a long period of time, trying to generate some revenue for it. I think this is going to be a pretty low density type thing where, you know, they're not looking to grow the business. They're just looking to utilize the space in a way where they can generate some income. Currently, they're not. I don't think they're going to have traffic than the old antique store did, in my opinion. So I can support it.
Mr. Sermon?
I concur with John. I think it's really a low density type use. And given the parking even on Ridge as it goes down, if you had an additional car or two at a time, really wouldn't impact the area. So it would be great to get somebody in there and get that space livened up again. So I can support it.
Anyone else wish to make a comment?
I'm concerned about the vagueness of the business plan, but I do think that the variation request is small enough and in the best interest of the village to get the space productive, and so I can support this.
Thank you.
This is Brad. I agree with what Maria said. I am concerned about whether or not there will ultimately be adequate parking there. But I guess the good news is that all the neighbors, including the barber shop, are okay with it. And that's the one I'm most concerned about. And if he's okay with it and everybody else is okay with it, I think it'll just naturally you're either going to lose your patients because there's no parking, or it's going to work. So I'm willing to let the chips fall where they may. I agree with Maria that it's better to have this place filled, and it looks like it's a small request at this point, but I have no problem putting the risk on the owner.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and this is Chris. I agree. I think these things will work themselves out, among the various tenants, and it is good to get a business in a prominent corner.
And I appreciate what John and Bob have said, and I agree with it all. I just have real reservations about the vagueness of the business plan and the setup of the space, which lends itself to changing the business plan after they've received their variance. I've seen this with private houses as well, where people are adding space that they insist is only going to be used for storage, or it's, unused attic space, but seems far in excess of what's actually necessary. I hate to be cynical, but I don't necessarily believe that it will be 8.7, customers per practitioner per day. And I have a lot of experience with dropping off and picking up rowers from one of their neighbors. And I actually spoke to them about it, and they said they don't have any problems with it. So in the end, I can support this, but I wanted to also point out, Mr. Falkov, that all of the letters in favor of it come from the tenants of the owners who are making the application.
Thank you.
Thank you, Riley. I agree with the business plan. I don't quite understand the business, but be that as it may, I want to point out that south of Ridgeview and the laundry to the south, where you have an antique store, and then you have Steers meat shop, and then you have a plumbing shop and a State Farm. And to my knowledge, I may be wrong, none of those have parking, zero. There's parking across the street in the atrium. Half of the atrium parking is public parking, which is not as distant as for example, the underground parking lot in the village center in terms of walking distance. There's more parking, on-street parking south of Lake. So I think with 3 dedicated spaces on site, I think there will be capacity in the area to handle whatever traffic this may generate. So I can support it, although I question, just like Mr. Falkov and others, about how this business will eventually turn out. But, I think parking may be not the biggest issue.
Can I make one more comment? The reason for my my questions about the layout is having been to a very good body worker in the city who does all of these traditional medicines. He has 2 treatment rooms, 1 practitioner. You make appointment ahead of time. He meets and greets. He does it all. He has another person that works when he's not working there, but only 2 treatment rooms. So one is occupied and one is being cleaned and that sort of thing. So that the number of rooms seems still to me excessive. But I just wanted to say that that's the reason why where I was coming from in terms of my questioning of the number of rooms.
Thank you. Any other comments? If not, I think, are we ready to take a vote? I guess so. Ms. Roberts?
Mr. Colang.
Yeah.
Mr. Sermon.
Yes.
Mr. Felkoff.
Yes.
Ms. Norick.
Yes.
Mr. Pelletin.
Reluctant, yes.
Ms. Joker Urban.
Yes.
Chairman Schneider.
Yes. So that goes with a unanimous recommendation to the village board. I think you may want to be there, Bo, and your mother. Then I think you know the date of the meeting. Maybe we will. What was the date, Ms. Roberts, again?
September 22nd.
September 22nd. So I think you should be there. They may want to discuss it. And now we need to have the other approval thing on here. Somebody help me. Move to authorize. Can you do that on page 3?
Reinhardt, I'm sorry, I was moving, but I was doing so muted. I move to authorize the chairman to prepare the report and recommendation for the Zoning Board of Appeals for case number 2020 Z23.
I'll second that.
Call the roll or the vote. Robert.
Mr. Pelletin.
Yes.
Mr. Felkoff.
Yes.
Mr. Colang.
Yes.
Ms. Norick.
Yes.
Mr. Sermon.
Yes.
Ms. Joker Urban.
Yes.
Chairman Schneider.
Yes. And thank you very much. I think we have two more.
Move to approve the minutes of the Zoning Board of Appeals for Wednesday, July 15th, 2020.
Second.
Call the roll, call the vote.
Yep, hang on. Mr. Felkoff.
Yes.
Mr. Colang.
Yes.
Ms. Norick.
I'm sorry, I turned it off instead of on. Yes.
Mr. Pelletin.
Yes.
Mr. Sermon.
Yes.
Ms. Joker Urban.
Yes.
Chairman Schneider.
Yes.
Move to approve the zoning board minutes for the zoning board of appeals meeting Wednesday, August 5th, 2020.
I'll second that.
Go ahead, Ms. Roberts.
Mr. Felkoff.
Yes.
Mr. Colang.
Yes.
Ms. Norick.
Do I vote if I wasn't present?
Yep.
Still vote. Yes. Okay, then yes.
Mr. Pelletin.
Yes.
Mr. Sermon.
Yes.
Ms. Joker Urban.
Yes.
And Chairman Schneider.
Yes. I guess now we're at the stage where we can ask for any public comment. Ms. Roberts, do we have anything on the line? I forgot that for the earlier case, but I assume there was not much going on. But
Yes, we did not have any comment before, and we have no public comment now.
good, thank you. And
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
do the roll call.
Mr. Felkoff.
Yes.
Mr. Colang,
Yes.
Ms. Norick,
Yes.
Mr. Pelletin,
Yes.
Mr. Sermon,
Yes.
Ms. Joke Urban,
Yes.
Chairman Schneider.
Yes,
All right.
and that concludes the meeting. Thank you very much, Mr. Sherman, for stepping in the breach.
Sure.
I don't know what happened, but I'll hope it doesn't happen again. But thank you.
Thank you all.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Right.